So what we're also going to do is pull this data out into a separate file that we can include individually where we need it. So I'm going to go back to the examples folder, and I'm going to create a new folder called data. We have it up here now. And then I'm going to copy over this 9th step, which is called productdata.php.step. And I'm going to paste it in this data folder. I'm going to rename it productdata.php, just removing the number and the step from the sides. And let's take a look at this in the editor. So this looks pretty close to what we had in our products.php file, except now we're assigning a number here as we add each one of these items incrementally. Also, this page includes just the set of products and nothing else. So now we need to modify both the header and the products page in order to use this. So the first step will be the header, because that includes our product rendering function, and we'll want to look at the modifications that we made there. So I'm going to go back to the examples folder, and then I'm going to open up the 10th step here, which is updated render product function. And we're going to copy this code and paste it over the code in the header.php file and save it. And I'm going to scroll up. So here's our updated function. You can see it's a little more complicated now. I'm going to roll down to where we actually use it. And here's where we use it in the featured listing sidebar. We first set up which IDs we want to render in the sidebar, and we just create an array with the list of IDs. In this case, we want to render the first and second one, and these have the UIDs 1 and 2. And then to create the output, we're passing that array to the render products function. So the difference now is that we're passing a set of numbers instead of a set of data to the render products function. Let's go ahead and scroll up and take a look at what changed in this function. So the parameter now is product IDs, and we're going to default it to an empty string. Now in this code, the first step is pulling in the list of products from our productdata.php file. And so what we're going to do that is include it here. We also want to make sure not to duplicate our efforts and include it multiple times. So we're making the products variable, which gets defined in the productdata.php file, we're making it static so that the next time this function runs, it will check to see if the products array exists, and if it does, it will skip this include process. So again, if we scroll over to our productdata.php file, you'll see that this products array gets defined here. I'm going to go back to the header.php file. So now we have our products. Next, what we're going to do is see if any product IDs got passed into it. And if not, then we're going to assume that the script wants to include all of the products. So if the product IDs is empty, which is the default for this parameter, then we're going to set up a new set of product IDs. We're going to initialize it as an empty array, and then we're going to loop through each one of the products, pulling out the key as the PID variable and the array as the options variable, and then we'll add that PID to the list of product IDs to this array. So by the time we're done here, looping through each of the products, we'll have a list of product IDs that includes every item. So at this point, when we've called it in our header.php file, when we have the array of 1, 2, our product IDs variable will just contain that 1 and 2. All of this will have been skipped because it wasn't passed an empty variable. Next, we're adding one more feature to our function, which will allow us to pass a single number in as the list of product IDs. Now this is just to make it a little bit simpler. If we want to just render one product, it seems a little silly to have to pass it in an array. So what we'll do then is if the product IDs isn't an array, we're going to assume that it's a single number, then we're going to set the product IDs as that array. So this is just making our function a bit smarter to handle different types of input for the parameter. And finally, now that we've figured out which product IDs we want to render, we're going to go ahead and render it. So we'll start by initializing our output variable as an empty string, and then we're going to loop through each one. And this is pretty much the same code that we saw from before, and we're going to give it the HTML structure that we did from before. In this case, we're accessing the product in that products array, and so we're going to get these specific pieces of information like the image, the price, and the title by passing the unique identifier to this products array. So as we loop through the IDs, the ID will be pulled into this PID variable. So the first time this runs for our featured listings, it will be 1. And so we're looking at the products array with a key of 1, and then the image key within that. Same with price and title.